My family ordered me to cook for 37 guests. On Christmas, instead I said no, booked a flight to Paris, and left them to face an empty kitchen alone. I was born useful. This Christmas, I learned how to be unavailable. My name is Adrian. I'm the oldest of two, the one who fixes the printer, scrapes the casserole dish, and remembers when to take out the garbage. At a hotel, I handle front-of-house duties such as scheduling, event planning, and seating charts. I prefer lists with checkboxes, drawers that close completely, and receipts that match what I actually purchased. My name is Adrian. I'm the oldest of two, the one who fixes the printer, scrapes the casserole dish, and remembers when to take out the garbage. At a hotel, I handle front-of-house duties such as scheduling, event planning, and seating charts. I prefer lists with checkboxes, drawers that close completely, and receipts that match what I actually purchased. My folks describe me as dependable. If you ask me, I'm the one who keeps the lights on while the others enjoy the room. My sister, Celine, is 26. She's the glitter, creative, buoyant, and destined for great things. She texts and uses exclamation points but never fully charges her phone. We grew up in a small, noisy environment where help meant doing it and family meant paying for it. Celine always had a crowd. I always carried a dish towel. When we were kids and mom had people over, I set out plates and wiped fingerprints off the fridge, while Celine tried on outfits in my parents' room and showed up at the last minute. When I obtained my first job, my father charged me $170 for the house. When Celine received hers, her mother advised her to just focus on your dreams. December is a busy month at the hotel. We host a dozen office parties and 2 charity galas. My December is a spreadsheet with color-coded blocks and a break penciled in as a joke. This year, I circled one day, December 26th, because it was mine. For the first time ever, I had saved 3 PTO days consecutively. I desired quiet. I wanted to wake up without a list. One day before Christmas, I visited my folks with a tin of cookies from the hotel bakery. Mom was in the kitchen, wearing my aerobics sweatshirt. Dad had the football game on mute. Celine sat on the couch, bare feet tucked under her, scrolling. Mom greeted me in that upbeat tone she employs when there is already a plan. "Oh, perfect timing," she replied. "Your sister's friends are spending Christmas here. Only 37 people." I laughed because sometimes the only sound you can make is a mistake. 37. Celine smiled without looking up. "It's basically my whole creative cohort, plus once," she informed me. Vibes. Mom began bringing out the large roasting pan. "We'll do stations," she explained. "Grazing board, carving, dessert. You can do the timeline." "Me," I said, as if I were a visitor in this discourse. "Obviously you," Dad responded, staring at the television. "You're good at this." Mom was already listing. "We need chairs. We need extra ice. We need a vegetarian option. You'll handle the turkey, the ham, the salmon. Oh, ask your hotel if you can borrow chauffeurs. And Celine needs a mocktail bar, and there's a gluten-free person." "And 2 gluten-free," Celine said, still browsing. Mom gave me an unmistakable smirk. "Don't worry," she said. "Grown men don't need to open presents. They need to take responsibility." Dad said, without looking. "Get used to discipline, son. You've got 24 hours. My mouth formed the little smile that occurs when I want to say no, but the room expects yes. The kitchen was bright. The countertop was clean. When Mom laid the roasting pan down, the metal made a bell-like sound. I looked at the fridge, where Mom had posted a sticky note with the word menu and a blank under it, as a dare. I could feel a list attempting to crawl into my skull and settle there. 37, I reiterated. "Only," Mom replied. Celine photographed the empty cutting board, as if it were the beginning of a cookery show. "Christmas content," she explained. I placed the cookies on the countertop. I drew a breath, hoping no one would hear. And I said simply, "Got it." I did not protest, not present, not then. I stepped to the sink, turned on the water, and watched it get hot. The faucet hissed like a secret. The trigger was not a shout. It was a smirk. It was just 37. It was the way my name had already appeared on a blank menu at a house where I did not reside. I cleaned my hands with a towel that always smells like lemon cleaner and stored the cookies in the pantry. No one asked me what I wanted for Christmas. They never do. Someone should have. The job title at the hotel is Assistant Event Manager. In my family, it means free labor with a smile. It started little. When I was 12, I made deviled eggs because you're neat with your hands. By 16, I was grilling for 20 because you're good with timing. By age 20, I knew where Mom stored the extra tablecloths and how to wedge a folding table so it didn't wobble. "You're a natural," Mom would say, as if she'd discovered me. Money usually showed up under a new identity. Dad termed it discipline when he deducted $170 from my part-time wage for housing and board. Mom referred to it as helping when she added me to the family phone plan and then neglected to switch her card back after I paid for 2 consecutive months. Celine texted, "Can you spot me $83? The universe will return it." The universe never did. There were scenes that stuck with me like replays. My senior year graduation party coincided with Celine's early portfolio showing. I set up lights, hauled ice, and was instructed to move my own cake to make place for her ring light. When I received a promotion at the hotel, I brought champagne. Mom reached beyond the bottle and remarked, "Oh good. You can finally buy those new dining chairs." We did. I paid, Dad said. A man provides. Like furniture, it was a test I'd learned about too late. The family group chat is a swarm of assignments. Adrian, can you pick up Aunt Clara at 4? Adrian, Costco run. Adrian, table for 12 inches. I learnt to respond with a thumbs up or not at all. When I didn't react, my mother would text, "Don't be cold," then call the hotel, "Just popping by," and urge my manager to remind me of our big family weekend. My manager would smile sweetly and hand me the message as if it were a flower with a thorn. Celine moved through it all like a balloon. She soft-launched 3 businesses but did not hard-launch any of them. A candle brand, pop-up brunches, and a moodboard-focused podcast. She was given a leased SUV for safety, and she cried when her father told her she needed to pay for insurance. "It's predatory," she explained. I witnessed Dad convert predatory into a tale about how the world treats artists unfairly. He instructed me to make room. What will you make place for? For whom? For the version of my sister that only appears in captions. Last Christmas, I cooked for 18 because Grandma couldn't do it anymore. I made a grocery list, paid for excess, which became the norm, and slashed my thumb when the good knife hit the bad angle. Mom blotted the blood with a dish towel and said, "Are you okay?" She didn't stop. Neither of us did. We served at 5. In March, Celine arranged a vision brunch for 12 guests and used my hotel discount to rent chaffers. "You can bring them," she said. "You know how to set them up." Later, she shared a photo of my hands in a frame with the caption, "Grateful for community." I received 2 texts from strangers wondering if I catered. I replied, "No," and received a 3rd text from Mom. We could make a business of this. April was the month when we discussed rent. "Stop wasting money," Dad said. "Move back home. Save." He pronounced save as if it meant the same thing to everyone. Our house had a single bathroom and 3 people who never knocked. I stayed in my 1 bedroom with creaky floors and silence. I paid for it. I swallowed their disappointment like a pill without water. Summer was a busy season for the motel. Every Saturday there was a pair with candle centerpieces and a DJ who believed volume equaled love. I bought a suitcase with my overtime pay. I created a folder named Elsewhere with photographs, lists, and pricing. Not because I despise my family, but because I wanted to experience what it was like to be in a place where no one knew my last name. By October, Mom's questions had progressed from "Can you" to "Rule." She submitted a Google page titled Christmas Plan. The first line wasn't "Who's coming," but "Menu, Adrian under budget." She wrote, "We'll discuss," which means you pay and we forget. Then the only 37 landed. Celine's friends, Celine's people. People named Forrest, Aria, Sage, and one guy who goes by initials. Mom made a wish list like a Pinterest board with a heartbeat. "Just think how nice it'll look," she added. "We'll need rental chairs, 37 tablecloths, 7 extra plates. You can borrow from the hotel." "No one will notice," she explained. I said they will. She waved it off. "It's the season." Dad commented, "We need a signature cocktail." "You do those, right? Not too sweet. Use that good ice. And you might as well cover the Costco run. Your card gets points." Celine added, "No dairy, no soy, no nuts, no nightshades, but like make it cozy." I looked at them and observed its shape. At daybreak, I was roasting 2 turkeys, slicing veggies, and texting staff to find a spare heat lamp. I hold a timer in one hand and a ladle in the other. Me at 10 p.m., hauling trash as Celine recorded a "What a Night" narrative, and Mom said, "We did that." Then Mom added the final garnish. "And you'll drop the deposit for the tent today?" she asked, as if the weather was on my payroll. "It's only $900 to hold." "Only," Dad repeated. He took that phrase out like a pocket knife and used it to clean his nails. "Who's paying me back?" I inquired. The room grew silent as if I had shouted a curse. Mom recovered first. "Don't be transactional," she said. "It's ugly. This is family." Dad said, "We're giving you a project. You should be grateful." "What am I grateful for?" "Being a staff member for my own family." I swallowed. I nodded. I nodded because that's what I do when my mind is racing and my tongue wants to be quiet. That night, I opened the Elsewhere folder and glanced at a photo I had saved of a gray street with a bakery on the corner and a blue door. I gazed till my shoulders slumped. I did not inform anyone what was in that folder. It was not a secret. It was a barrier that hadn't learned to communicate yet. The meeting took place the next morning because Mom enjoys meetings. She had a printed agenda with boxes and the headline, "Christmas Run of Show." Dad spoke in his coach voice. Selene had her camera set to selfie mode, ready for behind the scenes. We sat at the kitchen table. The roasting pan gleamed from the counter, like an unexpected trophy. Mom got started. "Okay, Adrian, you'll shop tonight. 2 turkeys, 1 ham, salmon fillet for the pescatarians, veggie station for the plant-based people. We'll set up the rental chairs at noon tomorrow. You can pick them up at 9 a.m. And I said no. It wasn't loud. It was clean. 3 heads turned. Celine's camera stopped. Mom blinked, her smile fixed in place like a stuck screen. "What?" "No," I repeated. "I'm not catering your party." Dad leaned back. "Watch your tone." "This is my tone," I said calmly. Celine laughed. The mean kind. "You're joking," she replied. "I'm not," I said. "I'm not your chef. I'm not your ruler. I'm not your rental account. I'm your son. I'm Celine's brother." Mom's voice became syrupy. "Sweetheart, we're family. We show up." "I show up," I said. "I've shown up for years. I've shown up with my hands and my card." Dad clenched his jaw. "A man provides." "I know," I concluded. "I've heard that since I was 15. Here's mine. A man sets limits. I'm not cooking Christmas for 37 of Celine's friends. I'm not paying deposits. I'm not borrowing chaffers. I'm not risking my job for your party." Celine seared me with a glance. "So what? We just cancel? You'll embarrass me?" "No," I replied. "You'll host your party with your resources." "Adrian," Mom snapped. Now you can hear my real voice, the one with edges. "Don't ruin the holiday." I retained her gaze. "I'm not ruining it. I'm opting out of being your staff." Dad banged his palm against the table. Silverware leaped. "We will not be disrespected in our own house." I stood. My legs felt much like mine. "Then respect me in your house." Mom reached for the final lever. "After everything we've done for you." I nodded. "I know. You raised me. You fed me. And since 16, I paid you $170 a month for the privilege. I added you to my phone plan. I covered groceries when your card glitched. I ran your parties. I took grandma to appointments. I love you. I'm done being your unpaid employee." Celine's voice broke into a wail. "You're jealous," she replied. "People like me." "I like you," I confessed. "I don't like being used." Dad's cheeks turned red. "If you walk out, don't come back tomorrow. You're banned from Christmas." "Banned?" As if I were a teenager wanting to borrow the automobile. I peered at Celine's camera lens, which was black and flat. I looked at Mom's schedule. I peered at the roasting pan. "This is not about vengeance," I explained. "This is about closure." They were staring. The words rested in the center of the table, like a glass of water that nobody wanted to touch. "What does that even mean?" Celine demanded. "It means I'm closing the role you wrote for me," I told you. "You can be angry. You can host. You can cancel. I'm not your solution." Mom stood. "If you leave, you're selfish." "If I stay, I'm a servant," I said. "I choose selfish." Dad pointed to the door. "Go then." "Okay," I said. I did not slam anything. I strolled into the main hall. I took up my coat. I took the cookies I had brought back out of the pantry, knowing they would be repurposed without my permission. Celine mumbled something with my name in it, almost like a curse. Mom stated, "He'll be back." I turned at the threshold. Grandma's covered, I said. I already arranged her taxi for Christmas morning and a lunch reservation for 2 at noon. She won't be here either way. 2, Mom snapped. With who? With whoever shows up for her, I finished. You're invited. Dad scoffed. We have guests. I know, I replied. I stepped outside into the cold, softly closed the door, and set my phone to airplane mode in the driveway. The sky was a flat winter blue that gave everything an honest appearance. I sat in my car, watching the steam from my breath dissipate. This time, leaving was not a storm. It was a door that closed completely the first time I pushed it. I did not deliver a speech to my phone. I made movements. At home, I opened my laptop and the folder I had titled, Elsewhere. There was a confirmation email from 3 weeks ago, resting at the top, like a silent yes. Round trip to Paris. Red-eye flight out of our city at 11:45 p.m. Return on the 28th. Hotel was booked using points. I had saved all year. Keep cash tips in a container. Overtime. Luncheons prepared at home. The ticket had been a gift to myself. I hadn't told anyone since in my family. News is recruited into the group conversation before it reaches you. I checked in. I chose a window seat. I printed the boarding pass because paper relaxes me. Turn the phone back on. There are 12 missed calls. 3 from Mom, 2 from Dad, 7 from Celine. The texts landed in a stack. Mom, you are being obscene. Dad, grow up. Celine, you're ruining my event. Mom, we'll talk at 6. Be here. Dad, non-negotiable. I did not leave at 6 o'clock. I brought a carry-on with 3 sweaters, 2 pairs of jeans, socks, a novel, my passport, and a list of bakeries I wanted to visit. I fed my neighbor's cat ahead of time, texted her a photo, and provided a spare key in return for her watering my plant. At 7:03, Mom called. I let it ring. At 7:05, Dad called. I let it ring. At 7:12, Celine writes in all caps, "Everyone is counting on you." I sent one text. "I'm not hosting your party." At 8:40, I requested a taxi to the airport. At 9:10, I set my phone to do not disturb for everyone except Grandma and the airline. At 9:45, I received a notification. Celine has added you to an Instagram story. I did not click. At 10:02, an email arrived from the tent rental company. Hi Adrian, just confirming we have a tentative hold. Please complete deposit by 8 p.m. to secure. I said Mom and said, please release. I won't be paying or picking up. Mom replied at 10:10. Are you sick? At 10:15, a response from the rental company. Released as requested. At 10:27, I called Grandma. I'm going to be away for a few days, I announced. Your taxi is for 11 a.m. on the 25th. Lunch is at noon. Order number is 48,271. They know you like the window table. She chuckled. You always did have a head, she replied. Go see something you want. At 11:45, the wheels are up, and the phone is in airplane mode. The city faded away like a complex discussion. I didn't have to finish. I slept poorly and brilliantly at the same time. I awoke to a pale grid of fields, thinking that I had reclaimed my own time. When I turned on my phone after landing, it went nuts. 39 missed calls. 112 texts. A new group chat called, Emergency Now. The scroll read like a script. When the first visitors arrived at my parents' house, the kitchen was still bare, counters vacant, ovens chilly, nothing prepared. Mom's smirk disappeared. Her face drained of color as she realized there was no food ready, only a crowd waiting for service. 5:10 p.m. Mom. Where are you? 5:12 p.m. Celine. We need the keys to the church hall. 5:15 p.m. Dad, pick up your phone. 5:21 p.m. Mother. The turkey is still frozen. 5:30 p.m. Celine. You are destroying my brand. 5:37 p.m. Mom. Adrian, be a man. 5:41 p.m. Dad. We will remember this. 6 p.m. Unknown, my name is Sage, is there quinoa? 6:02 p.m. Mom. Okay, answer. 6:14 p.m. Celine. I informed everyone that you had a meltdown. 6:21 p.m. Mom. Your aunt is on the way. 6:33 p.m. Mom, where is the nice salt? 6:34 p.m. Celine. We need ice. 6:35 p.m. Mom, we need ice. 6:40 p.m. Dad is stubborn. 6:46 p.m. Mom, we found rice. 6:52 p.m. Celine, the oven is slow. 7:10 p.m. Mom, there are guests on their way. Message after message revealed the same fact. The kitchen they expected me to fill remained empty, and each missing dish prompted another furious text. 7:14 p.m. Mom, where is the carving knife? I stared at the last one for a long moment before setting my phone down on the tiny motel desk. A street outside my window moved quietly. I put on a coat and headed to a bakery that had been mentioned in 5 different blog articles as nothing exceptional, but nice. The line moved quickly. The woman handed me a bag and muttered something I could not understand. I said, "Mercy." It was the only word I had. Back in my room, another stack. 7:30 p.m. Celine. There is no mocktail. 7:32 p.m. Mother. The gluten-free person brought bread. 7:40 p.m. Dad. We are out of plates. 7:41 p.m. Mom, where is the nice salt? I deleted my kitchen doesn't have the good salt. I took it home months ago. Better not to open the door. At 8:12 p.m. Grandma sent a single text. Taxi scheduled. Thank you. At 9:03 p.m. the tone changed. Mom. You can't celebrate New Year's until you apologize. Dad. Pay your half or you'll be cut off. Celine. You are dead to me. Cut off from what? I've held an unpaid internship in their lives. I ate warm bread and fell asleep at 9:40, like a person who hadn't slept for weeks. Morning. Christmas. Quiet streets. Gray sky. I heard a church bell somewhere I did not belong. I made burnt coffee and went beside a river. Nobody recognized me. Nobody asked for ice. Grandma sent a photo at midday. Her wearing a paper crown from a Christmas cracker and seated near a window with a platter of cooked chicken and potatoes. Aunt Clara stands next to her, beaming, wearing the same crown. Caption, good and warm. I smiled so fiercely that my face hurt. Afternoon. I took inventory like I usually do after events, but this time, everything was mine. Family plans. I logged in, paid my current balance, and planned a split at the end of the cycle. It's merely my line. I texted Mom and Celine links for transferring lines to their respective accounts before the 31st. Streaming, password changes, and logouts on all devices. Wholesale club. I removed the household add-on, grocery application. I deleted all saved addresses other than mine. I removed my card. Bank. I transferred my savings to a new bank with a 2-factor login and a name no one knows. Credit freeze across all 3 bureaus. PINs in an area that my family seldom checks. Mail. Set up an informed delivery with a 5-day hold. House keys. The spare I had gave Mom last year went missing. I arranged a locksmith for my home on the 29th. New locks. New codes. I was not punishing, I was cleaning, I was shutting off the only taps I had turned on. At 2:40 p.m., Mom tried something soft. We can reset after the holiday, she wrote. Just admit you were dramatic. I responded, I'm not resetting to be your staff. She responded with one word. Ungrateful. At 3:12 p.m., Celine shared a photo of individuals wearing Christmas sweaters in our parents' living room eating what appeared to be rice with cranberry sauce. Caption. We made it work. Good. They should learn how. At 5 p.m., Dad finally spoke the truth. Equity line, he noted. We need to talk about tapping your savings for family needs. You're being selfish. I placed my phone face down and stared at the patterned hotel wallpaper until the room stopped spinning. I then wrote 3 sentences. I'm not your emergency fund. I will help Grandma directly. Everything else is no. He replied, we won't forget this. Me either. On the 26th, I sat at a cafe and checked my email. Our European partner hotel made an offer, a 3-month assignment beginning in late January, with housing, a stipend, and the opportunity to learn their systems. I had applied in October at 2 a.m. I then persuaded myself it was a daydream. HR sent the offer on the 23rd. I had not seen it. I accepted. New start date, January 23rd. Paris, but not for vacation, for work. I chose this door. I texted my landlord when I returned to my room. Notice was provided. I texted Julian from work. Can you store 2 boxes? He replied with a thumbs up and a question. You okay? I wrote better than okay. On the 27th, I flew home. At baggage claim, my phone recorded the final batch. Mom. So you're actually doing this? Dad. Paris is childish. Celine. Nobody will assist me relocate in January. Grandmother. Bring me a magnet. I slipped my phone into my pocket and smiled. A magnet is something I can do. Back at my place, I wrote a list and taped it to the refrigerator. Exit. 1 column for accounts, 1 for dates, and 1 for completed. I began checking boxes. The true surprise was not Paris. It was that the part of me they expected to see, silent, useful and available, did not return. January brought a chill to everything. People become tired of being loud. Mom tried once more saying, "We can fix this if you sign a family agreement." And I responded, "No." Dad sent a link to a storage facility saying, "We need space at your place." And I said, "My lease has been active since the 20th. Celine wrote, "Last chance to support my launch," and I responded with a screenshot of my calendar including a small airplane icon. I made tiny trips, 2 boxes to Julian, and 1 suitcase to my parents' doorway for Grandma. Paris magnet, wool scarf, and a message containing my new phone number and the hours I'd be awake at her time. I rang the doorbell and left before Mom could open it. On my last night at my apartment, I made pasta and ate it on the floor because the chairs were no longer available. I made a list on a sticky note and kept it in my passport. I'll help Grandma personally. I will not endorse sentiments. I will not be the family's unpaid caregiver. I will not call control love. I'll respond when I mean yes. I'll say no without essays. At the airport, my phone vibrated. Mother. Are you proud of yourself? I wrote, I'm proud that I stopped lying. She sent, to who? I wrote, to myself. In Paris, my room is modest. The radiator clicks, and the window stares out at a slice of sky. I walk to work. I count dogs along the way. I find that the elevators here always hesitate before remembering you. I prepare coffee on a hot plate and toast bread till it's practically burnt, which is how I prefer it. I answer the phone when Grandma calls. I send her photographs of bridges and pigeons. I ignore the group conversation until the phone goes silent on its own. People continue to ask for a moral. I do not have a sentence for everyone. I've prepared a sentence for myself. I didn't flee. I shut the door I'd been keeping open for years because I believed that was what decent sons did. The party continued without me. Good. It should. It is theirs. So is the cleanup. I am not a servant. I am not a wallet. I am not prepared for other people's seasons. My name is Adrian. I'm 30. I booked the trip. I took it. I accepted the job. I reclaimed my life in modest, boring, and permanent ways. When I fly home, I'll bring Grandma another magnet. I'll transport myself back to a house with an empty kitchen until I decide to cook. And if someone says only 37, I'll smile and offer the simplest, clearest word I know. Number. My adoptive mother locked me in the garage for hours, then told me, "This is your lesson." I nodded, then fought back. In a way she never expected. After my original parents died when I was 13, I was reared in a Moscow orphanage. 4 days after moving to America at 16, my mother stated, "You're American, and Americans don't need Russian rubbish." At 16, an American couple met me on an adoption tour and decided I was perfect. Through a translator, they promised me a beautiful life in America with my own room and good schools I didn't want to leave, but nobody gave me a choice. Everyone thought I was crazy for staying in Russia, but I had a bad feeling. The first day in their Ohio residence, they told me I could only speak English and not Russian. Immersion was the fastest way to learn, and keeping my old tongue would prevent me from becoming American. I signaled that I only knew 25 English words. The mom told me to call her Rebecca and said, "Then I guess you better learn fast." Since then, if I spoke Russian, even to myself, Rebecca would appear and take meals or lock me in my room. The second rule was that I had to change my name. I loved Sophia because it was my grandmother's name. Rebecca gave me a list of American names and I chose Emily because it was the shortest. She called me Emily immediately and corrected me when I said Katja. She told everyone at church that my name was Emily and I was excited to come to America. She laughed and added, "She's still learning to express herself." Rebecca put me in the local high school without ESL help because she felt special programs would make me reliant and lazy. She stated I was proficient in English and timid, understanding just one word in 25. I never talked, so kids called me the Russian robot. When I returned home to ask Rebecca for assistance, she remarked, "You're not trying hard enough." Rebecca tossed away my Russian souvenirs the first week. She said, "You're starting fresh, and you can't do that while clinging to the past." I watched her throw everything away and couldn't tell her what those things meant to me. Her husband, Mark, just nodded. Rebecca always made huge meatloaf and casserole dinners. She'd become annoyed if I didn't finish, adding, "You'll prefer American food because families have dinner together." She wouldn't let me leave the table until I finished. She ignored me while I gazed at cold food for hours. I journaled in Russian to think in my language. Rebecca interpreted from beneath my mattress at her church. She went nuts when she read I loathed living there and craved home. She called me ungrateful and protected me from awful life. I watched her burn the notebook in the fireplace and threatened to send me back if I wrote in Russian again. I begged her to send me back but was terrified to say after 7 months, I hardly spoke English. I knew more, but I was frightened of saying anything stupid and Rebecca correcting me. She punished me by taking everything if I didn't answer questions in full. English Mark worked full-time but remarked, "Your mother is trying to help you, and you need to appreciate that." A Russian student transferred in Maxim spoke English better than me. Lunchtime Russian chatter revived me. I told him everything about Rebecca and Mark. His Russian immigrant parents would help me, he said. They were pleasant when I called from school. They felt my position was odd. My instructor saw me with Maxim and taught Rebecca. She contacted the school to separate us and forbid me from speaking Russian on campus. She said, "If I hear Russian, I'm pulling you out of school and homeschooling you to supervise." She smiled coldly and said, "You're going to learn to be American even if it kills you." I didn't realize she meant it literally play 90 seconds and give me 5 stars on Spotify. Maxim's parents called the house, but Rebecca told them to never call again. 4 winners can choose a Spotify or Amazon gift card. I repeat her words in bed that night, even if it kills you. She said it cold and sure, so I knew she meant it. This goes beyond learning English and being American. My brain plots my survival plan since I can't sleep because I'm afraid she'll hurt me or frighten me into obedience. My gut hurts after eating a forced meal. Hours ago Rebecca is normal the next morning, preparing breakfast and discussing church activities like she didn't threaten my life yesterday. I accept her porridge without protest. My face is blank as my mind races through options. Mark reads the newspaper at the table, never looking at me. As his wife threatens to kill me, I finish the oatmeal and thank her in English like she taught me. Rebecca smiles and pats my head like a puppy. My school classes are foggy. I'm thinking about how to call Maxim's parents without Rebecca knowing. When I see Maxim across the cafeteria at lunch, his eyes and Russian mouthing are evident. "You okay?" Just a slight headshake. I quickly turn away before a teacher catches us conversing. I use the toilet between courses and remove my left shoe in a stall. I gently unfold the small paper shred in the inside sole, where Rebecca won't see it, and examine Maxim's handwritten numerals. 8 numbers may save me, so I pray repeat them softly. Rebecca makes me sit at the table for 4 hours that night. After 1 hour, my legs numb. I need to go to the restroom, but she won't let me leave until the meatloaf is gone. It gets cold and congeals into a greasy mass that makes me gag. I choke down little chunks, chewing endlessly to avoid gagging. Mark arrives home about 9. He sees me sat with Rebecca guarding the kitchen and thinks about it for 6 seconds before softly climbing upstairs and closing his bedroom door. Rebecca and I are alone again. I swallow the final frigid bite at midnight. Rebecca glances at the empty plate and says, "When you try, you can." Maybe this is a lesson on perseverance instead of misery. She doesn't let me brush my teeth before bed, which seems petty. At night, I count the hours until daybreak. Long sitting aches my body. I'm always scheming how to get a phone. Maybe tomorrow. Sarah observes me at school the next day during the morning break between classes. Our school counselor tried to assist me when I started. She appears anxious, which makes me optimistic and afraid. I glance away to avoid Rebecca finding out I talk to anybody, but Sarah's eyes follow me down the corridor. English class makes me dizzy. I haven't eaten since last night's forced meatloaf supper, and Rebecca missed breakfast this morning. My body stops. My last recollection is my desk meeting my face. Someone shouts. Everything goes dark. I wake up at the nurse's office to a juice box. I know her wants. I sip apple juice slowly, sweet and cold. Holding the box, I shake. A desk-bound nurse fills on a form. One word is visible, but I don't grasp its meaning: malnutrition. Rebecca's name is at the top of the form, and when the nurse answers, I hear her loud and outraged voice on the phone from across the room. The nurse tightens her face while listening. Rebecca comes in 25 minutes and poses as a worried mother, touching and sympathizing with me. She then tells the nurse. Emily adapts to American cuisine. She's dramatic. Her palate has always been finicky. I sit and listen to her lie. The nurse is skeptical. Her eyes alternate between Rebecca's and myself, but she doesn't answer. She summons no one else. I sense another aid door closing. Rebecca takes me by the arm and signs paperwork. Tight grip hurts. We head to the vehicle and I know I'll pay later. Rebecca's car pulled into the driveway and she cut the engine but didn't move. She stares straight ahead through the windshield for what seems like forever. Her jaw set and her hands tightly holding the driving wheel. As she gets out, her door bangs so hard that the car shakes. Staying in the car feels worse, so I run inside. The front door closes behind us. She goes for my upper arm and shakes me, shaking me so hard that my head swings back and forth. She smells like wrath and perfume and approaches my face. She says I humiliated her in front of those schoolmates and the nurse undoubtedly thinks she's a horrible mother. I click my teeth as she shakes harder. I say sorry in English, but it sounds terrible. And she shakes me again. We're alone without Mark's car in the driveway. The rationale is beyond me, but I've stopped trying to understand her. She releases me and I slump against the wall. She sends me to my room via the stairs. A fainting punishment is no meals tonight. Shaking, I take the stairs to my room. Her footsteps drop to the kitchen. I sat on my bed with an aching arm where she grabbed me. Her crimson fingerprints turn purple when I pull up my sleeve. My brain changes. I can't live like this. I must contact Maxim's parents tomorrow. Last week, I discovered 4 quarters and 3 dimes in the school parking lot and hid them in my pencil bag. I'll find a payphone near school after class and call to tell them everything. I lie on my bed, groaning from not eating since that forced meatloaf last night. When the phone rings, Rebecca knocks on my door. Breakfast is ready, she says through the wood. Her voice is normal, and I stand and examine my arm. I hide my dark purple and yellow bruises with a long-sleeve shirt when I go downstairs and find Mark reading the newspaper at the table. Rebecca made eggs and toast. I eat something despite being hungry. After a few bites, I say, "Thank you" in English, the way she taught me. Rebecca smiles and nods like I'm a puppy learning a trick, then says, "I needed to learn there are consequences." Mark moans and turns a newspaper page without looking. I finish eggs and toast with a neutral expression. Rebecca laughs and tells me to catch the 16-minute bus. I get my backpack upstairs, seal my pencil case, and wait for the bus. School mornings are fuzzy. Maxim is at his locker between 2nd and 3rd. When nobody is watching, I lean near and murmur in Russian as I pass him slowly, saying, "Pay phone." After school, speaking quickly to your parents. He stops, nods and says, "Main 5th gas station, payphone, 3 blocks from the school." Closes his locker and leaves immediately. My heart is racing, but I feel hopeful for the first time in weeks. Be prepared. I stare at Russian-sounding numbers on the board in 3rd period math, relax in the dark room after the 4th period history teacher shows a film, and see Maxim across the cafeteria but can't talk, making lunch the hardest. Last period English, I asked to use the toilet in bad English. I said, "Bathroom please." The instructor waved me away without looking up. Instead of walking to the bathroom and back, I take the long road past the main office and cautiously check through Sarah's office window. She's on the phone at her desk looking troubled. I wish I could walk in and tell her everything in English. I walk to the loo, run cold water on my hands, and look in the mirror. I look terrified and exhausted. I breathe deeply and return to class. When the last bell rings, I take my backpack and leave. My hands shake as I push through the doors. I quickly cross the parking lot and turn left onto the sidewalk. I check my shoulder to make sure Rebecca's car isn't following. 3 blocks feel like 3 miles. My pulse rushes. I noticed a pharmacy and laundromat. The gas station is ahead on the corner. I grab the outside payphone beside the air pump, cold and heavy in my palm. I pull the coins from my pencil case. My hands shake so badly I almost drop them. I put quarters in the slot one by one. I dial my memorized number. A Russian-speaking woman speaks by phone. Listening to my Russian makes me weep. I rant about Rebecca's threats, food punishments, being trapped in my room and garage, and my worry that she'll hurt me. I also talk about my arm injuries and how Mark stood there doing nothing. I say I don't know what to do, and I'm afraid Rebecca will pull me out of school. She listens without interrupting and says they'll call my school tomorrow when I stop talking. I trust her compassionate, forceful voice and say, "Thank you" in Russian. I hang up the phone and lean against the wall, feeling lighter than I have in months, like maybe there's a way out. My heart stops as I turn around for school and see Rebecca 12 feet away next to her car. I don't know how long she's been there. My body chills. She's silent at first. She stares at me incomprehensibly. She moves slowly toward me. Steps seem to take forever. She stands in front of me and looks down. She talks sweetly and calmly. Get in the car. I go to her vehicle on odd legs, sit in the passenger seat, and she starts the engine in the driver's seat. The journey home is silent and unnerving. Rebecca's white knuckles are from grasping the steering wheel hard. Her jaw tightens and her cheek muscle twitches. She ignores me and is silent. The car's stillness weighs me down. I want to apologize or explain, but I'm terrified to speak. We pull into the driveway and she stops the engine. My rucksack is spilled upon my bed by her. Books, papers and pencils litter. She explores at everything. She checks backpack pockets, rattles my pencil box, unlocks desk drawers, kneels and takes up a shoe from the floor. She rips out the inside sole and discovers my phone number on paper. She stares at me. She challenges my intellect. Is it all right to go behind her back? I'm most terrified of her quiet, controlled voice. She approaches me with the paper and touches my arm again, over the bruises, as yesterday. Pain makes me gasp. She takes me down the stairs from my room. I flee, but she's too powerful. We enter the kitchen and find Mark at the counter. He's home early from work. He looks wide as Rebecca drags me, but he doesn't move. I yell for help in my native language because I'm scared of English. Despite my pleas, he stays enthralled. Rebecca pulls me through the garage door and down 2 steps into the freezing concrete chamber where I slip and strike Mark's workbench. She stares at me from the doorway. She returns home and slams the door. I hear the lock click and knock with both fists, crying for help in Russian, English and Russian since I forgot which language to speak. No one comes, so I bang until my hands and throat hurt. The doorknob doesn't move. On November's cold day, I'm wearing my thin school shirt since Rebecca grabbed me before I could retrieve my jacket. The garage is black save for a little home light under the door. Since hitting the cold metal door is freezing my hands, I sit on the concrete floor and bring my knees to my chest to get warm. The garage is full with Mark's equipment and boxes in the car, but nothing to help me escape. A little window near the ceiling is too high for me to reach and probably locked. As the sun sets, the small light beneath the door fades out, leaving me in complete darkness. Like in gym class, I stand up and perform jumping jacks to warm up, but my legs are so tight from the cold that I can barely move. Nothing is visible and the cold is becoming worse. I bump into things and try not to think about how cold I am until I am too tired and curl up in the corner where 2 walls meet. To stay warm, I tuck my hands under my arms, raise my knees up, and make myself little. I wonder if my grandma, Sophia, who I'm named after, can see me from wherever deceased people go. I was frozen in an American garage when I asked for help. The thought makes me upset and almost cry, but I'm too chilly and sleepy. I wait there trembling, praying Rebecca will let me out before I die. Footsteps outside the door make me wonder what time it is. Suddenly the lock twists and the door opens, pouring house light into the garage and making me squint. Rebecca stares down at me on the floor and asks, "Have you learned your lesson?" I nod fast because I'll say or do anything to leave this cold garage. I limp past her into the warm home, my legs shaky and almost falling down the steps. Rebecca follows me to my room, where I think I'll finally feel warm under my covers, but she takes them off and departs silently. I'm chilly and shivering on my room's bare mattress, so I lie down and curl up like in the garage. I sleep from tiredness, but my throat, cough and body suffer the next morning. I'm dizzy and sit on the mattress to get dressed for school. Rebecca glances at me as she comes to my door and understands how sick I am. I hear her on the phone downstairs after she leaves and catch a few phrases. I sleep all day on the bare mattress, coughing or shivering even if I'm warm. Maybe I have a fever. She's calling the school to say I'm sick, so I can't attend, see Maxime, or get help. Her house is my jail. Rebecca below calls again and says, "Everything's fine, just a little bug." I close my eyes and wish I was somewhere else. On my second day home from school, the fever is mostly gone and I'm coughing less, but something seems odd. Rebecca enters my room with a tray and smiles, which she never does. She adds with a sweet voice that doesn't match her face that the soup and crackers on my desk are real food. I called the school to announce our homeschool start next week. Fast stomach drops make me sick again. I can't stop Rebecca from isolating me. She leaves with her dreadful grin, and I stare at the soup but can't eat it because I'm about to vomit. Rebecca's car leaves that afternoon, and and I know she's going to the grocery store like every week. I sneak downstairs and go to the kitchen phone quietly. There's no dial tone. I follow the cord and see that Rebecca fully unplugged it from the wall and took it. Rebecca has turned the house into a prison where I can't escape or seek for help. My living room phone is unplugged and the cord is gone. My first floor windows all have new key locks. As I look out the living room window onto the street, I hear Rebecca's car pull into the driveway. I hesitate to go upstairs before she comes in. Rebecca enters with grocery bags and finds me near the window. She gently lowers the bags and grins coldly, freezing my blood. She continues, "I've talked to the school and they've approved homeschooling starting Monday, so you won't need to go back." School was my major link to helpers, so I'm frightened. Rebecca grabs her groceries and heads to the kitchen, leaving me trapped at the window. Monday morning, Rebecca answers the phone downstairs, and I crawl to the top of the stairs to hear Sarah call. Rebecca calmly says, "Emily has the flu." Rebecca stiffens and her voice hardens when Sarah speaks. Truancy laws, paperwork and homeschool removal. Rebecca has phone-related white knuckles and isn't smiling. She hangs up after a brief conversation. Rebecca calls again quickly. She's calling the school administration to appear calm, but I can sense her wrath. Withdrawal documents and homeschool clearance are needed. Rebecca shouts, "What do you mean 48 hours? But the caller doesn't budge. Rebecca says, "Fine," eating it, and hangs up quickly. I hear from the stairs that the school is postponing her withdrawal for 3 days and requires me to attend. A fleeting moment, but something a chance. The next morning, Rebecca drives me to school. She drives silently yet tightly. Finally, she speaks calmly and threateningly in the school parking lot. She promises to make me regret anything I say to everyone, and I understand. I'm not dropped off at the door. She follows me inside the building and down the hall to my first session. After parking, Rebecca stops the teacher in the corridor and says, "Emily is still recovering. Please send her to the nurse if she seems unwell." The teacher agrees, and Rebecca glances at me before leaving. Her admonition drags me down at my class desk. My following day at school is filled with fear and preparedness as I realize I have 3 days or 72 hours to get assistance before she pulls me out of school and locks me away where no one will find me. Lunch is spent alone at my usual table, nibbling at my tray without eating much. I peek at Maxim across the cafe. From his table he passes mine. He drops something on my tray as he passes. My hands shake as I unfold a postage stamp-sized folded paper under the table and examine the faint Russian text. I leap at. His parents called the school yesterday and talked to someone named Sarah. Because my counselor assisted me previously. I write on the same page in tiny letters with my pencil, write in Russian, that Rebecca knows something is wrong and wants to expel me from school. Urgent aid needed. I fold the paper again and wait for Maxim to drop his tray. I place the letter in his hand as he passes, and he closes his fingers without looking at me. A minute later, he reads it behind the garbage can and his face becomes white like someone smacked him. He exits the cafe after crumpling and discarding his lunch bag. Probably finding Sarah. I'm too busy to listen to academics all day. In third period, someone knocks on my classroom door to message the teacher. After reading, the teacher gestures to the door and calls me. Rebecca's morning admonition to avoid talking to anybody makes my stomach drop. I carry my books to the door, shaking palms. Rebecca confidently found Maxim's message. My tile floor footfall are too loud in the quiet corridor. The main office clerk receives my name. She leads to a counselor door off a corridor. I gently touch the door and a voice says something I don't understand. Sarah smiles at me from her desk when I arrive. She leads to a chair and I sit with my backpack on my lap for protection. Sarah shows me Russian-sounding English letters on a piece of paper from her desk, point and tap a page phrase. The phonetic Russian says, "I need interpreter in English." She helped me communicate with others here. Sarah has me say the line again. My strong accent and weird words make English sounds difficult. She nods encouragingly and I repeat till understood. I understand despite my shaky voice, need interpreter. 3 words may save me. Sarah writes on a notebook as I sit. Despite our inability to converse, I can tell she's making or accumulating evidence. This week's calendar shows Friday, 4 days away. She indicates to page interpreter and makes phone motion. She may state an interpreter is coming in 4 days, while nodding shows understanding and optimism. I'm concerned since 4 days feels like forever. Rebecca wants me out of school in 3 days, and I can't stand it. Sarah writes and circles another calendar number, perhaps noticing my face. After tomorrow. She raises